You know, there was a time when releasing a movie straight to Netflix basically meant you'd produced some low-budget piece of forgettable trash with dodgy special effects, a badly written script, and a cast of nobodies. Nowadays, though, we get to experience big-budget pieces of forgettable trash with dodgy special effects, badly written scripts, and a cast of big-name actors out to collect an easy paycheck. Truly, what a time to be alive. Case in point, Red Notice, an action comedy adventure prison break heist movie about a bunch of wisecracking art thieves who constantly fuck each other over in their search for a lost relic, but for some reason end up totally chill with each other by the time the credits roll. And if that all sounds like a film trying to straddle just about every lucrative genre imaginable, then well, that's the magic of movies, folks. Red Notice stars Ryan Reynolds, Gal Gadot, and The Rock. I mean, I assume they have character names in this movie, but since they're basically all playing themselves anyway, I'm just gonna make things easier and call them by their real names. Anyway, the gist here is that Ryan Reynolds is a notorious international art thief who's wanted by Interpol, the FBI, and pretty much every other law enforcement agency known to man. Enter The Rock, who leads a sting operation in Rome to stop him stealing a priceless jeweled egg that once belonged to Cleopatra. The sting operation fails, but eventually they're able to track him to his home on a tropical island and recover the egg. Unfortunately though, Gal Gadot sweeps in and swaps the egg for a forgery, framing The Rock for the whole thing. Before you know it, he and Ryan Reynolds are sharing a cell together in a Siberian prison, where they learn that the egg from Rome is actually one of 3 that Gal Gadot is now working to recover. So the race is on to escape the prison and find the other 2 eggs before she does, so The Rock can clear his name and Ryan Reynolds can get some payback. Cue improbable action sequences, double crosses, glamorous locations, hidden Nazi treasure, and patented MCU-style inoffensive banter. If I had to describe Red Notice in one word, my word would be... shit. Safe. It's the kind of film that plays to well-worn tropes and ideas that have been tried and tested elsewhere. There's a bit of Raiders of the Lost Ark, a touch of Ocean's 11, and a dash of Mission Impossible thrown in for good measure. It's all perfectly fine, crowd-pleasing stuff that general audiences are sure to like. And thank fuck, it's mostly just concerned with having fun, rather than trying to push the message. The problem though is that instead of creating a unique and interesting new story in its own right, the plot for Red Notice feels more like a scaffolding built around a very specific series of requirements. We need colourful, exotic locations for our characters to visit and a reason for them to be there, so the plot revolves around the hunt for 3 ancient artefacts, which just so happen to be housed in impossibly glamorous and beautiful places. Like, they're never stored in some dreary local museum in some generic city that nobody would ever want to visit. Like Aberdeen. We need a heist sequence so our characters can do the whole talk through concealed radios while infiltrating a high-end cocktail party and covertly gathering all the items they need routine. And we need a fast-paced action sequence with lots of shooting and explosions where our main men have to escape from a high-security prison. Like I say, it's all stuff that we've seen in other movies, and it's all breezily rushed through here because there isn't really time to give it the development it needs. And because it's a modern-day movie, there's a few half-hearted attempts to subvert your expectations with mixed results. I mean, it did kind of make me laugh when The Rock commandeers a high-end sports car to pursue a fleeing subject, and this happens. But then you've got stuff like Cleopatra's eggs, the driving force behind the entire movie. Why is everyone willing to risk their lives for these things? Because some rich guy wants them for his daughter's wedding. I mean, okay, sure, I guess. Like, if this was a different movie, they'd probably fall into the hands of some doomsday cult that wants to use them to bring about the end of the world or something. But oh look, they're just a wedding gift for some entitled brat that's more excited by Ed Sheeran than priceless artifacts.
You serious?
Aren't we clever and subversive? The fact that Ryan Reynolds literally refers to them as MacGuffins really hammers home the point with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer shaped like Ted Danson's forehead. I get that this is a light-hearted adventure film that doesn't take itself too seriously, but damn, it would have been nice to feel like there was at least something at stake here. Also, and I'll just come out and say it, the actual plot at the heart of this movie is fucking baffling. Now this is where I get into spoiler territory, so if you don't want to know what happens, you should probably bail now. As we find out in the finale of the movie, The Rock was secretly working with Gal Gadot this whole time to manipulate Ryan Reynolds into revealing the location of the 3rd egg, since he's the only person who knows where it might be. Fair enough, nice little twist you've got there, but once you actually start to think about all the shit that led up to it, you realise it doesn't make an ounce of fucking sense. So their devious plan begins with The Rock posing as an FBI agent to apprehend Reynolds while he steals one of the eggs in Rome, but when he escapes, The Rock shows up to his house with an Interpol strike team to arrest him. him, thus getting him sent to prison in Siberia. At no point do any of these people think to question The Rock's credentials or verify who he actually is. He just walks right in and takes command like he owns the fucking place. Also, if you know where Ryan Reynolds lives, then why go to the trouble of trying to capture him in Rome? Doesn't that risk lots of innocent people getting killed in the crossfire? Anyway, Gal Gadot then sneaks in posing as a SWAT team member, steals the real egg, replaces it with a fake one, and frames The Rock for the theft, so that he can get sent to prison along with Reynolds. Again, nobody at Interpol questions any aspect of this development. One fake phone call is literally enough to convince them that he's dirty and to send him away for life without trial, because apparently that's a thing you can totally do. It's also pretty lucky that he happens to end up at the exact same facility where Ryan Reynolds is being held. Like, if they'd chosen to send him to Guantanamo Bay or ADX Florence or literally any of the thousands of other high security facilities around the world, then their plan would have been completely fucked. Also, it's kind of a shame that they couldn't have done this on Alcatraz, because then we could have finally seen The Rock versus The Rock.
Welcome to The Rock. You're welcome.
Anyway, the boys then join forces and escape the prison together, which kind of makes me wonder what would have happened if Ryan Reynolds had told The Rock to go fuck himself. Or what if one or both of them had gotten killed during the escape attempt? That would have been pretty awkward. I mean, it looks pretty fucking dangerous to me. Also, were the prison guards in on this plan? Because it really seems like a lot of them must have got killed or injured during the escape, not to mention the millions of dollars worth of equipment that got destroyed or stolen. Anyway, they make it to Valencia just in time to infiltrate an arms dealer's masquerade ball, where they sneak into his vault and fight Gal Gadot before she reveals that she's been working with him the whole time. Wait, what? So why go to the trouble of fighting them and destroying the priceless artifacts in the vault when you could summon security at literally any time to apprehend them? Why take the chance that Ryan Reynolds might actually kill or severely injure you? I mean, he seems like a pretty competent fighter when he takes on an entire room full of convicts during the prison break. But nah, I guess 120-pound women is just too fucking terrifying for him. But why do any of this shit anyway when you already have access to the vault and the egg? So anyway, the arms dealer takes them prisoner so that he can torture them for information. Wow, lucky he didn't just immediately execute them. Then Gal Gadot fake tortures The Rock so that Ryan Reynolds gives up the location of the third egg, betrays the arms dealer and leaves the boys to escape on their own. The Rock and Reynolds then go after the real egg, which is actually hidden in a secret Nazi bunker in Argentina, because yeah, sure, okay. Then they have to recover the egg and escape the Interpol agents that followed them there before betraying Reynolds and leaving for Egypt to hand all 3 eggs over to the buyer just in time for his daughter's wedding. Wait, what? Why the fuck would you publicly display these extremely high-profile artifacts whose thefts are almost certainly headline news around the world? Do you not think this might cause problems when your hundreds of wedding guests start talking about this shit? Did this guy even know that they were stolen in the first place? Nah, whatever. So The Rock and Gal Gadot immediately screw him over by tipping off Interpol so the eggs can get recovered and everyone lives happily ever after. I can't emphasize enough just how much this batshit crazy plan depends on the most obscene series of coincidences, lucky breaks, and literally every single person acting in exactly the way they need to in order to succeed. Like, if any aspect of this plan had failed at any point, then literally the entire thing would have fallen apart. And what's funny is that they could have circumvented pretty much all of this by going straight to Ryan Reynolds and either torturing or bribing him into helping them find the third egg. I mean, throw $100 million his way and I'm pretty sure he'd cooperate. I guess this is one of those movies you're not meant to think about too much, but if you're going to play a complex high-stakes game that's built on heists and betrayals, then that's how I'm going to judge you. Comedy aside, a plot like this should still be tight enough to hold water, and this one absolutely doesn't. It's basically a house of cards that looks impressive at first glance, but give it a slight nudge and the whole thing collapses on you. The casting is another point of contention for me. The Rock is on hand with his usual easygoing charisma and a few self-deprecating jokes about how unfeasibly massive he is. Gal Gadot's there to provide a bit of eye candy, while Ryan Reynolds plays the same role he's been playing for the past 20 years. Ryan Reynolds. Whether or not you consider that a good thing depends on how much you like the guy in general. I mean, I didn't mind him in Free Guy, and he's got decent chemistry with The Rock, but man, sometimes he's just a bit too much. It's like going on a day trip with a hyperactive 8-year-old that's had too much sugar. You don't have to work a joke into every single line of dialogue, Ryan. We can survive more than 10 seconds without laughing. Gripes aside, the two leads work pretty well together, and generally their banter is decent. The downside is that Gal Gadot gets kind of overshadowed by such big personality. qualities. I mean, don't get me wrong, she's a beautiful woman and she generally comes across as likeable and charming, but when it comes to scene-stealing performances, she's not really in the same league. Trying to play a seductive femme fatale, a cunning master criminal, and a ruthless art thief all at once is really asking more than she can deliver. She's fine working within her comfort zone, but whenever she's required to move beyond it, well, you basically end up with Wonder Woman 1984 all over again. Chris Diamanto... The guy who plays the arms dealer feels kinda wasted here too. The script can't seem to decide if he's a sinister crime lord, a sadistic killer, or a fucking goofy henchman you're supposed to laugh at. I mean, he kind of just disappears halfway through the movie anyway, and, well, that's it. No more antagonists. The problem with trying to blend multiple genres into one film is that you end up spreading your narrative a bit too thin, becoming a jack of all trades but a master of none. Red Notice doesn't have the stakes, the intrigue, or the sense of adventure from Raiders. It doesn't have the smart, intricate, cleverly developed heist of Ocean's 11, and it definitely can't hold a candle to the cool and inventive action of the Mission Impossible films. It's a lightweight, low-effort kind of movie with cartoonish action, a superficially clever plot, and a charming, good-looking cast playing mostly to type. And it all just feels a bit safe, a bit bland, and a bit empty, like trying to have a deep and meaningful conversation with your fucking Alexa. It's the kind of visually appealing but undemanding film that you watch when there's literally nothing else on, and then promptly forget 5 minutes later. The ultimate piece of disposable entertainment from a network that pretty much specialises in it. And apparently that's all it takes to start a whole new franchise now. 2 more sequels have already been greenlit, and God knows how many spin-offs, TV shows and video games it'll end up spawning. In an era where unapologetic shittiness is now the accepted norm, I guess bland mediocrity is now considered a high aspiration. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.